Amount of points, 804 points.
Get back in the model, get away from each other, some more success. And that was my point. I was like...
Mūsu sportistiem. No vakardienas vakarā ļoti veiksmīgs sacensības bija diviem klases rekordiem. Un interesanti, ka
Three of us in the voting, so yeah, it was a single record.
Man nepatīk rast, man patīk rezultāts. Un Kīmuka Ligija jaunā rast rekordu arī tā intervijā pateikt. No Kanādas, kas ir prasas sākt par līdzīgiem.
Up on the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup Tour is Sigulda in Latvia, renowned for its elevator up to the starting area. But there are many more challenges on this Latvian track than just getting the sled to the start. It is fast and furious, and it's going to be a real challenge for the competitors in our women's monobob race. Today's race also counts for the European Championship for those who are European countries. But for everybody, this is going to be a very tough track to get a hold of. It's only 1,200 competitive meters, but it gets busy immediately. The start area is good for the quick getaway, but first corner can be absolutely make or break. If you come out of here and skid down to corner 2, before you even get down to ground level, you have lost too much time. Out and long corner 2 into 3, building speed as we plummet down into corner 4, usually take a tap there. The upper labyrinth, 5, 6, 7, and then corner 8, 9, before you get to 10, the first big pressure corner, then 11. Absolutely key for the track. Try and come out straight into 12, into 13 before you can blink, into 14. Now comes the only notifiable straight that you've met. Uphill into 15, double pressure, exit over the outrun into corner 16, another double pressure, and a little bit goes on forever and across the finish line, hopefully without clouting the wall before the timing eye. So lots of traps and pitfalls on this track, designed during the Cold War era to be as tough as anything that was currently in existence, and it certainly is. Lisa Bukvitz leads our World Cup rankings. from Keisha Love and Brianna Walker. It's a real change of the guard in women's monobob. Some of the new young drivers having an excellent time of it so far this season. We have 15 entrants on our start list. As you can see, monobob so far this season has been very popular with a host of drivers. Lauren Holter took her first win in monobob last year, early in the season in Lake Placid, finally unlocked how these things work. And as for Keisha Love, well, she came to driving in the first European race of the season, and she won it. Lisa Buckets has had big success, perhaps the most successful woman before the World Cup started in monobob. You just saw there Brianna Walker. Andrea Greco, look for an explosive start for her. She knows this track really well. And Melanie Hassler there of Switzerland can be counted on to be in the mix as well. Victoria Chinanska, Linda Wierzchewski and Germany's Maureen Zimmer, who replaces Kim Kalicki, I think for the rest of the season and likely for the Worlds as well. She goes off at 3 before we get into our accepted front runners. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top here. Victoria Chinanska, Youth Olympic silver medalist 2020 in youth monobob. Now in the senior game, she's a junior European bronze medalist from last season. Under 23 junior world gold 2023. And she's had plenty of title medals in her career. Let's see what she's got for us at the start. 5:99, that's not the quickest start we're going to see today. 5:0 from Cynthia Appiah is the start record. Last year's winner, Kaylee Humphries, has the track record. Neat and tidy into corner 4, and then down into the labyrinth out of 6. This track comes at you very quick and fast. And then the big right-hander, corner 10, straight into the double pressure corner 11. Exit here is key because you go into 12 without blinking, then 13. Exit 14 is going to be absolutely critical. Trying to keep it straight, so he gets a long tail slide into 15. Can't take too much height in 15 or you're all sorts of trouble on the run down into 16. Quite low in 16. Across the line, 54.29. Okay, well, the track record is a 52.78. We didn't get near to track record pace yesterday until the final race, the women's skeleton. Another quite cold and frosty night. You can see how matte the track is looking. Even after overnight prep and a morning spritz, you can see the guide marks, or the marks, shiny marks that the runners left from the 4 runners before Victoria Chinanska came down out of 14. That long meandering slide, taking speed out of the sled. All right. First trip down for her this morning. Linda Wierzchewski of Poland is second out of the start shed. And behind our hoarding, you would normally see the collecting area for the sleds and the doors of the elevator that takes them to the 3rd floor where the start area is built up in a tower. And that gives great acceleration as you build speed early in the run. So our current leader, Victoria Chinanska. Linda in Europa Cup and World Series in monobob. Europa Cup silver medalist, or the World Cup Series started last year. 5:84 getaway, so already with an advantage, but a skid out of 1 to 2, and a big skid in 2. Oh dear, she's going to be in trouble for the rest of the track if the rear of the sled is sliding around that much so early on. There's no centrifugal force to hold it down. It does look like the sled might be a little bit of a handful this morning. And again, they've got fresh ice this morning. They may not have had that in training. May not have been prepped quite as slick as this. Out of 14, another little skid. And again, the tail moving the sled around. Second bed speed. Oh. And uphill into 16, slapping both sides of the track. Across the line, 7/10 back. 55.0. Great to see Polish men and women's bobsleigh, monobob as well, competing. Really important for nations that have a history in the sport to come back again. So often in the past, it has been just a single sled or a single driver who has kept the program alive. Oh dear. You can see, trying to keep the nose up, the tail is not playing a game at all. Mendyviashevsky having to fight both ends of the sled at the same time there. So that was a busy drive for her. Competed yesterday in the women's bob, as everybody did, and they'll be racing again tomorrow morning in women's bob for the European Championships. Next up, Maureen Zimmer, last year's junior world champion in monobob. That gave her a free ride into the World Championships, where she performed extremely well. And she's taken over Kim Kalicki's World Cup spot. She's still with a calf injury. And I think they rightly feel that her talents are best served in the 2-stick sled, trying to keep her healthy as well. Maureen, an absolutely acceptable stand-in, little tap into 4. 3800s fast at the start than Victoria Chinanska. That gap has nearly doubled now. 5600s. She's not actually building her lead over Chinanska at the moment. Second best speed. So the driver from Slovakia. But Chinanska has had the top speed all the way down. Now Maureen Zimmer is quicker. 106 kilometers an hour, 94 miles an hour. 116.8 at the bottom, and across line, it is a 53.54. Still 8/10 away from the track record, and early on a frosty morning, that's not a surprise. You normally lead sort of air temperatures hovering just over freezing, so that there's a micro climate of slick, wet ice to really build those record speeds. Maureen very high in 15 and pays the price on the exit. Just letting it fly. Got a little too much height in 15, maybe even for her own liking. Lyndon Rush at the front of the sled. In the background, you can just see the trousers of Justin Cripps, coaching squad for Bianca Ribby and the rest of the Canadian sliders.
Here we go!
So let's see what Bianca can produce this morning. Has not raced here in monobob before. Her very first monobob race was Lake Placid, April 2019, so quite an early uptaker of the monobob program. 591 getaway, so 3/10 behind Maureen Zimmer. Tap out of 1. More control to 2 than we saw from Linda Wierzchewski for sure. Gets clean into 4 as well. Gap's already out to 4800s behind Zimmer. Down through the labyrinth, a couple of late flops, out of 10 into 11. Not bad exit from 11. You can hear and see contact with the wall. Out of 14. Keeping it nice and straight, but only the third best speed and 6/10 back. At the moment, she's behind Maureen Zimmer and Slovakia's Victoria Chinanska. Second best speed at the bottom, and across the line in third place still, 54.31. Lyndon Rush on the left. Justin Cripps on the left, Lyndon Rush on the right of our picture. So 54.31, a second nearly, or 8/10 slower than Maureen Zimmer. Well, here's the exit of 14, steers late off. It's first time here for Bianca Ribby, so she's very much learning this track. And again, the rise out of 15 up to 16. Any skids here really put the brakes on.
Thanks for watching.
One more of these and then 2 more tomorrow in her learning process. Next up for Romania is Andrea Grecu, joint fastest starter in the field last weekend in Lillehammer. Now she knows this track very well indeed. And her best women's bob and her best monobob results have both come here. Up until the start of this season, she got her first monobob medal with a bronze in the plan, the season opener. She's had silver here before in women's bobsleigh in a full field. Let's see what she's got, 5:61 at the start. So she tied Maureen Zimmer. She may not look like the most powerful athlete, but boy, she can get a sled off the line in a hurry. Not see quicker starts than that. 400's up on Zimmer. Of the pair, Andrea will have better knowledge of this track, how it works, where to find the speed, where to avoid giving it away, which is so critical. Nice exit out of 13, beautifully out of 14. Might be working a little hard for it, doesn't get as much height as Zimmer. Cleaner exit, that should give her top speed. It does, 1:16.8. And at the line, it's Andrea Grecu who leads by 0.08 of a second. Well, she looked like she was in very good shape there. There's Theodora, who was in the two-man sled behind her yesterday. Well, it was a tough battle with Maureen Zimmer. You're never going to beat the German sleds easily. But Andrea, that was a good drive. Nice height, well controlled in 11. Beautiful exit into 12, which set you up for 13 and 14. And then out of 14, nicely down the straight to 15. And then from 15 into 16, a little wavy maybe, few hundreds she could have saved there, but Andrea Grecu leads after the first 5 sleds. Heat 1 of the women's monobob race here in Sigulda in Latvia, round 6 of the BMW IBSF World Cup. And Lara Nolte now, world champion in women's monobob from St. Moritz last year, starting 5:73. So giving away 1200s to the quicker starters. Neat and tidy early on, absolutely crucial. 2200s back. Best speed though for Lara Nolte. The German sleds don't have any advantage here. Everybody using the same sled built by a high-tech company in Bavaria called IBSF. The same equipment available for everybody. The only difference is you supply your own runners. The advantage Lara Nolte has is lots of knowledge in the camp. Across the line in third, 1300 back. That's a good-looking run. 53.59. Well, that puts her definitely into medal potential. And there was an issue with the brakes. Now, I didn't quite get what she was saying. Whether the brake handles, which are down in front of the driver between their legs, whether they were bouncing around. Didn't see the teeth of the brake dropping down out of the sled. Sometimes you do see that, particularly in a four-man. Sometimes you just see the teeth chattering down a little bit if the bungees that hold the straps aren't. Yeah, so she was... There was a problem with the brakes for the whole side, she was saying. The rest I'll leave you to translate. If you don't understand German, that's probably just as well. All right, so definitely a big distraction now. Lisa Buchwitz has been a big distraction for everybody this season in the women's monobob field. World Championship bronze medalist. She has had 3 straight wins in monobob and a silver medal in the last 4 races. Plus the women's bobsleigh win in Innsbruck as well. And who's screaming their lungs out at the top, but they're doing a great job. 5:61 ties the fastest start. Buchwitz started driving in the World Cup last year. In 2022's Olympic Games, she was still one of Germany's lead brakewomen. And she started driving before then, but she came out of the trap this year. Oh boy. Everything really started to click with her last year, and this year she is slaying it. 1100s back. So still in the top 3 at the moment. Needs to be clean at the bottom. Nice control. She really gets this sled. She feels this thing so well. And when you come into the sport as a power and speed athlete, it's never a guarantee that you're going to have driving ability. But a great job. 3rd place ahead of Lauren Alter by 200s. So Angia Grecu leads. Maureen Zimmer of Germany 2nd. Lisa Buchwitz of Germany 3rd. There's a brakewoman Leonie Fiebig. And Lauren Alter of Germany 4th. Buchwitz and Fiebig winning yesterday in the first of our double-header women's bobsleigh weekend. And I'm sure Leonie will be looking to get, beg your pardon, Leonie won with Kim Kalicki yesterday. I'm sure Leonie will be looking to get in amongst the medals again tomorrow. There's Lisa Buchwitz. The only bit about winning she doesn't like is having to do an interview in English afterwards. So next up for Switzerland is Melanie Hassler. Mel's best result, a silver medal. And that was also on the podium in La Plania this season. There's Rico Peter looking around the back. Now she's not going to be in the 60s. Where is she at the start? 575. That's a very acceptable getaway from Melanie Hassler. Trying to keep it neat and tidy where the speed is low early on. So easy to lose the race before you even get to corner 6. She's down in 5th place, 4/10 back. Lost too much speed early on, and when you're starting slower than some of the rivals, then you need to be right in there. She's at 200s behind Lauren Alter at the top. A 1/3 of a second behind Nolter in 4th place. She will be 5th at the line. .54.07 for Mel Hassler. Lauren Alter was complaining that the brakes were out the whole way down the track. We didn't see them under the sled, and quite often on the camera shots, you do see if the brakes are out. And if she's right, if the brakes were on the ice, then it should be automatic exclusion. Now, we can't see damage to the ice. Again, in some of these slow-mo shots, you should be able to see where the brakes have been dragging. And again here, over the brow into 16, we would have seen it clearly if they were there. She must have heard something and thought the brakes were on the ice. And I mean, they make a fairly distinctive noise. We'll wait and see what comes back. So far, didn't see that there was much to worry about. But clearly it annoyed her. Next up, Keisha Love of the USA. The 26-year-old won in La Plan on her World Cup Monobob debut. And that was after a couple of just 4 NAC races beforehand as official races. So a little bit of pre- and post-season training when she was still braking last year. Kaylee Humphries. But again, goodness me, like Lisa Buchwitz, I mean, this is, and Lisa was driving last year, this is Keisha's 1st year of driving. She has absolutely got her head around both the monobob and the 2-seat sled. And we showed again last week, 2 weeks in Lillehammer, she was absolutely up with the front runners. Here she's working at a knowledge deficit. As we talked about last week, essentially, when you only spend your first ever week at a track, it's about not crashing and survival, and that's it. If there is any speed, hooray. If you don't crash, that's absolutely the first box ticked. across the line. She's going to be in the top 5. She is ahead of Melanie Hassler. She's 3/10 behind Lauren Alter. 1800s ahead of Hassler.
Good job.
I think with 2 words, Tuffy Latour summed it up perfectly there. Good job, absolutely right. Shauna Roebuck there having a little word with her. There's so much to take in when you're driving 2 sleds with 2 completely different sets of demands on a brand new track, and a brand new track that is such a rush at you as this is. By the time you get into corner 2, all the quiet time is gone. Even here on this long straight out of 14, yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about because you're worried that the sled is sliding. Well, Brianna Walker's got a little experience of this track. 8 times a Monobob winner, the Aussie. Not yet to claim victory in a World Cup race, but 3 silver medals, 3 bronze medals in her previous 12 races in World Cup status Monobob. Pierre Luder's yelling her off at the top and then ducking in behind the screen to take a look at the run. 5:67 getaway, another very strong starter. Brianna Walker really had a good season last year, having an even better season this year. 1500s off the lead. This could be a top 3 run for Brianna Walker. She does know the track. 4th best speed. See how far back in the sled she sits to try and keep the rear under control. Getting the nose to do what you want isn't always the hardest thing. Although having said that, obviously the straight makes a liar of me. That's going to cost her. She'll be hanging around with Keisha Love and Melanie Hassler. A big skid into 16 as well. And 6100s back, tied with Melanie Hassler for 6th place. So 54.07. And the sled not looking as well under control as it often does in her hands. Out of 14, comes down late, there's the issue, and she steers it into the wall essentially to avoid a late flop. And then the nose will not come straight, bouncing around. She's trying to line it up for 15. To 15, skidding on. Means big early height. See, that's why she's not in the commentary box. That was bad. Andrea Greco leads Maureen Zimmer and Lisa Bookvitz. 10 down, 5 to go. Our 11th starter of 15 is the Olympic Monobob silver medalist behind the Olympic champion Kaylee Humphreys. It was US 1-2. This is Alana Myers-Taylor. Alana wins in the World Series, yet to reach the podium in the Monobob World Cup. 4th, 5th and 6th, 4th and 10th in Lillehammer, a track she'd never seen before. 5:73. Only her 6th Monobob World Cup start. So, in terms of the World Cup, she is still a newbie in Monobob, in the Monobob era. So she did race in NAC and Monobob World Series very successfully. 3rd best speed. Starting 5:73, says Lauren Alter, same as Keisha Love. So that starting speed is really coming again. Top 5 and best speed of all. Alana Myers-Taylor, 5th at the line, 2500s back. That was a very good run indeed.
Really good run.
53.71, 5th place. 1/4 of a second off the lead. 1400s out of the medals. And 5th best start, as quick as Lauren Alter, as quick as Keisha Love, and quicker than Melanie Hassler. So her speed and her strength are returning off the start block, and there is never any question of her driving. Yingqing is our sole Chinese representative at the moment in the World Cup. Her teammate Wai Ming back home in China after her mother very sadly passed away in the last couple of weeks. So Ying, 25 years of age, crashed out of the World Championships in St. Moritz last year in the Monobob race. A joint bronze medalist here in last year's Monobob World Cup encounter. And that is her best Monobob result. So she comes back here with good thoughts, good memories. Jumps in, drops into the D-rings nicely. 584 getaway. And that result last year, probably very important for us. Sigulda was the final race on the calendar. It was after the World Championships. And he crashed out of the Worlds, coming here and not just competing without crashing on a tough track like this, getting a medal as well. That will definitely have started to undo some of the wrongs of St. Moritz. 6/10 back, 8th best speed, 10th at the start. Driving herself in ahead of Victoria Chenanska. Is she going to catch Brianna Walker and Melanie Hassler? Not quite at the line. So she is 9th, 7200s back. Here's Yanis Minins there with the beard. He's the driving coach for the Chinese sliders. Also teaching them everything they need to know about handling sleds on ice and away from it. Nice exit out of 14. And then just a little drift to get her over onto her left-hand side, coming towards the camera. That's the ideal line to get onto 15. Nicely done, Yingqing. Second of our Canadian sleds. Well, we saw Yingqing just now, bronze medalist last year, and the woman with whom she tied was Cynthia Appia here. Cynthia, the most experienced World Cup slider in Monobob, 14th World Cup race now. Nobody has done all of them. Cynthia has done more than most. 6th in the Worlds, 8th in the Olympics 2 years ago. 566 getaway, 4th fastest for Appia. Drifting a little away, though, from our leader, Andrea Greco. She's going to be hanging out with Alana Myers-Taylor and Keisha Love at this rate. 5th-ish, 6th-ish. 2 North American sleds, 5th and 6th at the moment. Is she going to be in amongst them? Doesn't look like she's going to get there. Only the 6th best speed. Alana was quicker. She's going to be 7th, 6th at the line. She is just ahead of Keisha Love by 0.04 of a second. So last year's tied bronze, and she's 7th at the moment. But Yingqing, with whom she tied last year, in 10th spot. So Ying not having the season this year really that she did last year. Best result for Yingqing was 7th last week in Lillehammer, and she currently lies in 10th. Cynthia's best results of the season, a couple of 5th places so far. That's sort of where she is at the moment. So, manhandling the sled around. Next up for Great Britain, which might possibly say for Wales, is Adele Nichol. Slid yesterday to a World Cup best 9th place in the women's race. This is her 5th Monobob World Cup start. Europa Cup silver in St. Moritz before she went for Lillehammer. In the Monobob, she got a bronze in the women's bob as well. Made a debut in Innsbruck. the New Saints, main sponsor, along with UK Sport Funding, which is now producing about half of her season's budget. Oh, little skid into 10th best start with a 5.80. Her mum was out watching a slide in Lillehammer last weekend, and she joined me in the booth for the four-man race. Talks as good a race as she drives. She's going to be ahead of Yingqing of China, looking for a top 10 result, but a little skid all the way down into 15. Means big height, gets a nice exit out of 15 down towards 16. At the moment, going to be in 13th spot at the line, 54.49. Looks like Graham Richardson and Sean Olsen were hoping for a little bit more out of that run. Not quite up to where she had been. Kaya Placide, her brakewoman, helping with the sled at the bottom. So height in 11, got to control it, control the second pressure and get a nice exit, because then you go straight into 12. Out of 14, steering a little late, and like Brianna Walker, nose gets onto the wall, bounces away and comes back. She's trying hard not to steer it away there, to oversteer, because she wants to be on the left into 15. But there's work to do for the second heat for Adele Nicol. Our final slider is Austria's Katie Bile, 30 years old, finished 14th in the Winter Games. Started her monobob campaign in December 2019 in Worldcup. She had two World Series victories. Fifth monobob World Cup race for her after a season away last year. To 11th places in Innsbruck and last week in Lillehammer. Started 13th fastest, 5.87. Saw yesterday how good her driving is on this track in the women's bob. Again, at nice lines down to 11. Maybe having to steer just a little too much. Out of 14, keeping it clean, not really, no. Nose is on the wall. And again, taps all the way down into 16. Speed is going away. She'll be behind Bianca Ribbi at the line and just ahead of Adele Nicol. So 13th place at the line for Katie Bile. Definitely more to do from her as well. Little late exit there and a flop, costing speed. Late exit out of 13 sends you early into 14. And she's trying hard not to steer on the exit. The nose still bouncing off the wall, skidding speed away.
Another two-man tomorrow, fortunately.
Possibly still not her favourite discipline, the monobob. Well, you've got to love the honesty of it. Lonely Bob, there's no brake woman and there's clearly no filter either. Andrea Grecu is our first heat leader. Well, if he can hold that together, what result that would be for the Romanian slider. Already a European silver medalist in women's bobsleigh. She leads after the first of our two heats in the mono. It's a slender lead though. 4 sleds covered by 1300s clustered together. Is Lana Myers-Taylor out of the mix? She never is. What about Cynthia Appia and Keisha Love? They've got a good battle going on, just 400s between them. Then another little cluster, Brianna Walker tied with Melanie Hassler, 1100s ahead of Ying Qing, who similarly is 11 ahead of Victoria Chinanska, who's 2 ahead of Bianca Ribbi, and so on and so forth. Well, the sledge will be back on ice in just a whisker under an hour from now. 11:30 local, 09:30 GMT, which, as we all know, is, oh God, it's early, 4:30 Eastern. We'll see you then. Bye for now.